Hi everyone, my name is Zoe. Thanks for joining me for my first video here, and thanks for having me today, Jamie.
Yeah, happy to have you.
So for me, whether it's having to send a large amount of file to my coworkers or trying to get the front row tickets to my favorite artist concert, the biggest pain is usually poor Wi-Fi connection.
I'm sure many of you have been there at some point, whether it's extreme lag spikes in game, ruining your big moments, constantly having to restart your router, or even yelling at your siblings to get off Netflix while you're playing games. Network issues are never fun to deal with. Not to mention the pain of trying to find solutions to your specific issues on online forums, or being put on hold for hours while trying to call your ISP.
Since pandemic, the past couple years has had a huge increase in work-from-home jobs. So while having a fast and stable internet connection has always been a coveted luxury, it has quickly become a necessity for many. Maybe it was freezing during a work Zoom call, or FaceTiming your loved one, or even just trying to binge watching the latest season of your favorite show. I'm sure many of you have realized recently that your home internet isn't as good as you need it to be. Think of your home Wi-Fi like a highway and each device as a car. With each new gadget and piece of smart home tech as a car you may be adding, your network connection could likely slow down with each addition causing traffic slowdowns. If this sounds familiar to you, then it is likely your router is in big need of an upgrade.
The first unit we have here is the NETGEAR Nighthawk RXE500, a single point AXE11000 tri-band Wi-Fi 6E router. Now that's a fair bit of information with that name, so let's break it down a little bit. This point is fairly self-explanatory. While there are multiple antennas within this router, they are all emanating from a single source. And router is simply referring to a device that creates and transmits a Wi-Fi signal, not to be confused with a modem, which converts or modulates and demodulates an analog signal from an outside phone line to a digital signal that routers can utilize. To put it simply, tri-band refers to the fact that this router will emit a Wi-Fi signal at 3 separate frequencies, which you may have heard of: 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz, and 6 GHz. Generally speaking, the higher the frequency, the faster the speeds, although not all devices will actually support the antennas or have the antennas internally built to receive these signals. In terms of design, the Nighthawk has a sleek, glossy black finish with 2 wings on either side, each housing 4 antennas, giving it a very modern, aerial-like design. On the top, you'll find the WPS button and your LED indicators on the back. And on the back of the router, you have the manual LED on and off switch, reset button, 2 USB 3.0 ports, 1 gigabit WAN port, 4 gigabit Ethernet LAN ports capable of LAN aggregation for faster wired connections, a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, the power on and off button for the router, and the DC power connector. The second option we have here today is the industry-leading NETGEAR Orbi AXE11000 quad-band whole-home mesh Wi-Fi 6E system. Design-wise, the Orbi definitely has a much more subtle aesthetic, with a clean, curved matte white shell on the front and back, with a brushed silver bronze trim around the sides and bottom, that with the 12 internally configured high-gain antennas, it's able to blend into a home much more seamlessly than many other routers on the market. On the back of the router, or main base station, you can find the sync button on the left, followed up with 1 main 10 gigabit WAN port, 1 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, and 3 gigabit Ethernet ports, with the power button at the end on the right. Spec-wise, there are also 2 main differences between this Orbi system and the other Nighthawk system. The first one being the fact that this router is capable of emitting 4 different bands. In this case right here, it has a single 2.4 GHz band, 2 5 GHz bands, and the fastest 6 GHz Wi-Fi 6E band. More importantly, this is a mesh system as opposed to a single router. In practice, this allows for much higher Wi-Fi coverage and faster speed over a significantly larger area.
Well, a range extender is fairly simple. It can solve some issues in certain scenarios. Because it's simply repeating a possibly already weakened signal, it can result in worsened internet quality in normally decent area in your home. if your device connects to the repeated signal instead of the original one. This is where the mesh routers come into play. Instead of simply repeating a weakened signal, mesh systems work by having multiple nodes that communicate with each other, prioritizing devices and adapting real-time to make sure you get the fastest possible connection to all your connected devices. And while all mesh systems can often be the easiest consumer-level option for solving Wi-Fi dead zone issues, the NETGEAR Orbi system here takes a step further by having a dedicated 5 GHz channel just for the mesh. This allowed to be the most stable mesh system available right now, since the separate nodes don't have to compete with your other devices for connection.
Let's get down to the practical side of things from your end. Luckily, with both of these options, setup is a breeze, taking mere minutes and a few taps on your phone to get your whole home up and running with the fastest internet speeds available. Opening the Orbi box, you'll find the quick start guide instructing you to download the NETGEAR Orbi app, followed by the main router, 3 individual power cables, and 1 2-meter Ethernet cable. In the Nighthawk box, you'll find the quick start guide as well, and underneath the router, you'll find 1 power adapter and 1 Ethernet cable. Setup is virtually identical between these 2 devices, with the only real difference being that the Orbi comes with 2 satellite units and that they run in separate apps. To get started, simply download the respective app from the App Store or Google Play Store and follow the few simple steps. 1. Plug in the router with the supplied AC adapter and the Ethernet cable to your existing modem. Select Setup Device in the app, scan the QR code that came on the router, and it magically sets up the rest from there. After a few minutes of setup, it'll ask you if you want to customize your network name and password, or you can decide whatever you want for yourself. From there, you're ready to go with blazing fast internet speeds throughout your home. I had the pleasure of taking these routers home with me to test, and on the Orbis alone, I can personally say that this set is definitely worth the investment if you have the correct network infrastructure coming into your home. To start, the internet speed being fed directly into the router for these tests averaged at about 3,200 megabits per second for both download and upload, plenty to get full usage out of these systems. In the mobile device tests, we used 3 different Wi-Fi 5 devices and a Wi-Fi 6E enabled Pixel 6 Pro. For the Wi-Fi 5 devices, download speeds averaged out to a nice 392 megabits per second download and 295 megabits per second upload over a mixed range of distances. For the Wi-Fi 6E test at about 20 feet away from the router, speed tests averaged out at a massive 1,360 megabits per second download and 1,080 megabits per second upload, with peak results for both tests averaging over 1,600. On the desktop test, we used a PC equipped with a Wi-Fi 6 capable ASUS X570 Pro motherboard. With the stock router from our ISP, speeds in the far corner of our home were at an okay 85 down and 30 up, with my roommate noting that he did experience semi-frequent lag spikes during games. After installing the second Orbi satellite in his room, Wi-Fi speeds to the same PC hit a massive 295 megabits per second average download and 250 megabits per second upload. That's over 3.5 times faster download and over 8 times faster upload speed simply by changing the router. Going a step further, one huge benefit of the mesh satellites is the ability to have a wired connection directly to your devices from it, offering a much more stable connection. On tests on that same PC via mesh Ethernet, download averaged at 445 megabits per second and upload went all the way to 460 megabits per second. That's 5 times faster download and 15 times faster upload on the same desktop in the exact same position. And after a solid session gaming into the night, he was able to confirm that all the lag spike issues he was experiencing before had completely gone away. While we didn't go as in-depth with our range tests, as we find results do vary case by case based off of both the house layout and the satellite placement, with the Orbi system installed, Wi-Fi speeds were fairly stable across our entire home, on all upper floors, very corners of the house, and even in the basement. We even managed to get a really strong signal in our front and backyard, and I was even able to get somewhat decent signal all the way at the bus stop across the street, about 400 feet away. The Nighthawk also performed extremely well, with speeds averaging at a very impressive 800 to 900 megabits per second up and download, although drop-off over distance was significantly worse, as is expected, as it doesn't have the benefit of being a mesh system, but it still performs way better than many other routers on the market. All in all, both these routers performed amazingly in all our tests, and I know both me and my roommates will miss having these routers in our home. While these Wi-Fi 6E AXE11000 routers are top-of-the-line options and definitely won't disappoint anyone, the first thing to check before upgrading your routers is the connection directly into your home. If the speed coming into your home is slow, getting a better router won't really help much.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and comment below if you like it and would like to see more videos like this in the future.
And if you need any help with your next router, you can find all the options we have here, both in-store and online at canadacomputers.com.